Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to tackle something that's been asked a lot about since I posted it on social media, is how I did Ahriman's cloak. So we're going to have a quick review of how that was done. It's only using 6 colours, so it's pretty simple to get done. It does take a bit of layering, of course, but I'm hoping you'll enjoy this. Note before we start, every model that I do paint, it is always primed with Vallejo Air Primer Black. Nothing fancy with that, just find it a really smooth coat and covering, and it's a great way to start the work. If you do not have an airbrush, there are of course rattle cans that can do it. Just make sure you get the right. So as you can see, the Vallejo Black is down, and what we're going to do now is our first coat. The first coat is using the Naggaroth Night for the nice dark purple. You want to cover the entire cloak, making sure there's no black coming through. Now I am using a wet palette, which does naturally thin down the paints. That gives you a nice colouring and a nice coat. If you don't have a wet palette, you can create one, or otherwise just make sure you thin your paints down on a piece of paper or something like that. The dark purple, the Naggaroth Night, does set the tone for the rest of the cloak, and it is the foundation that we'll be building off. There are lots of bits and pieces on this model that are around the collar and stuff like that, so it does take a bit of time to make sure you focus on where it needs to be. This purple will stay deep in the crevice and to give us that nice shadowing effect. Throughout this I will speed up the footage a little bit so you don't have to just listen to my voice while we go to the next stage, but I'm hoping you enjoy this, and here's that fast forward. If you are enjoying the video, please make sure you do hit that subscribe. It will let me know that you would like to see more of this, and I can make that happen. As you can see, we're still covering the rest of the cloak. The black primer is very strong, as I've said. It's very smooth, gives it a nice covering. Does mean you need to make sure that if you're going to make sure that your purple is thinned out and get all the right spots. I would never recommend painting a model holding the miniature with your hand. Ahriman does normally go on a disc, so it makes it a little bit harder to try and mount him on something, but if you can do that, make sure you do put it on if it's a paint handle, a cork, a bottle, or blue tack, whatever it is, make sure you do that to keep your hands off it. What it does then is removes the fear you might actually snap something, or put your finger on a painted area, or drop it, which can happen. So we're just getting to those finer parts now with the sleeves and the collar, making sure that is fully purple across the Naggaroth Night. It's a very nice colour, and we'll shortly move on to the stage 2, but this gives us the good base to work with. Shortly see the finished product of the purple going down, the Naggaroth Night I should call it, and you can see it's a nice covering where all the black is now covered up, and you have a nice coat of the Naggaroth Night. You may see a shiny part on the backpack. That is from a different paint, which I'll explain to you what that is shortly. Alright, moving on to stage 2 now, and what we're using for our colour here is Pink Horror. It's another Citadel paint. It is the first of the pinks that we'll be putting down. There'll actually be 3 levels of pink that will go down. Now what we want to do is focus on the raised areas as our primary part of contact with the brush, and we'll build that out, making sure that the dark purple of the Naggaroth Night stays in the big folds. So we want to try and make sure that from now on, your paints need to be thinned out, so you can have a nice blending effect, almost a wet blend. And a wet blend is making sure that the paints are wet when you're putting them down on top. You'll see here on this that it will be making sure that the main parts of the cloak, the flat parts, the raised parts are all going to be done with this Pink Horror. What it does is we start building the vibrant warmth of the colours, leaving that deep purple in the dark to make sure you've got that shadowing effect and give you a nice layer. We focus on, as I said, focus on the high and flat areas of the cloak, letting the dark and Naggaroth stay in the folds. Essentially this is your core cloak colour, or your main mid-tone. It's a big confident layer that blends into the purple underneath, and it is your base that you'll be moving on from all the pinks that come through. As you can see, where I'm putting the pinks is that high raised area which we spoke about, making sure we don't go too deep into those folds, and making sure that purple stays nice and bold. We make sure the paint is thinned out. Again, with the wet palette it makes it a little easier, but just make sure you keep your coat thin. Now, of course, if you want to see this live, you can follow me on Twitch, where I will be the hobby nights on the Tuesday, Thursday nights under Red Belly, and you can see what's going on. That's why you see these notifications might pop up every and again, as people make funny noises during the stream. You can see multiple layers on the center of the pink area, making the edges thinner to have that purple still show through, and that will be something that you'll follow on through for the rest of the stages as well. It is important that you do multiple layers and don't just big chunks of pink right on top and thick, because you will lose that purple come through in the darkness, and you just want to make sure it's smooth because you do have additional layers coming through as well. So this is a nice close up so you can start to see where that pink horror is coming through and leaving some of that purple underneath. So you can see some of the purple still starts coming through in those on the edges side of things, so in the darker crevices. There's the finished product, where you see the purples in those darker patches. So the next stage we get to stage 3, and this is where we start lighting up the pink horror. We'll be using Emperor's Children Pink. Again, we start in the highest race sections and work your way down, covering about half to 2/3 of the pink horror. Again, focusing on the high parts of the cloak. We're really starting to push that color transition now, with the rich purples fade into that soft luminous pink. We want to make sure we pay attention to the ridges and folds. That's where the magic happens. You can see start in the middle and you work your way out, and as you move your way out towards the edge, you want to be thinner so the pink horror still shows through, which then leads into the Naggaroth Night. Again, it just takes time. Make sure your paint's thinned down. It's better to have less paint on your brush than more, so you can go over it and layer it up as much as you desire. It is about what you feel that works, and this is what worked for me. If you do enjoy that, yeah, please hit that subscribe button. That would be great. Let me know that this is the kind of material that you'd like to see, and I can do some more. It's a closer up view of what we're looking at. You can see now that it's really getting that Fulgrim Pink. Sorry, not Fulgrim Pink. The Emperor's Children is showing up quite nicely. We've got that nice blend going between the Emperor's Children, the pink horror down to the Naggaroth Night in the dark folds. And you can see that texture now really taking place. Which only leaves one more stage of base colouring, and that is moving on to the highlights. This is where we're going to start doing the highlighting, and this is with the Fulgrim Pink highlights. It's quite a light pink. You don't want to go over the top of this one. It's your highlight tone. So use it sparingly. Just the edges, just the very tops of the folds. We're doing a little bit of ridge work towards the bottom of the cloak to give that, because it's up in the highlighted area. Again, we want to blend it in so it doesn't overpower what the pinks have already put down. You see I'll be putting that on little thin lines and just building out slightly, again with a thin paint, to make sure that we don't overdo over the top what we've already done. This is where we really start pushing that color transition. The rich purples is in that deep folds, moving up to the pinks, the darker pinks to the lighter pinks, and this is that final touch of where we want it to just pop. And you see with the edge work where it's worn. We don't want to draw a straight line on that. We've just got a little bit inside of it, gives it a bit more texture. So the cloak is not a straight line. So there's little lines there, just gives it a little bit more of the feeling of the life to it. And that's what we're trying to make sure. We're trying to catch the light hitting the fabric as it flows. So give it some life. What I'm doing here, you'll actually see at one point I'm adding little small lines, random lines on the tops of the folds. What this is just giving texture to the cloak, adding that sort of random streaks of light catching the fabric, again aiming to make it look more alive. You don't need to do that, it's just a little bit, but if you do decide to use this technique, use it sparingly, otherwise you'll start losing the texture you already put down with the colouring. Okay, and that's what it looks like after you've done the highlighting. You can see it's starting to light come through. Now on to the final stage, the stage 5 if you want to call it. We are using the Carroburg Crimson wash. Again, it's a Citadel paint. And what we're doing is just going to cover the entire cloak with it. You could call it a glaze if you want. What it does is steps all the colours together and removes any harshness that may have come from the direct changes in colour. It gives the fabric a deeper, richer tone, almost like a velvet under dim light. If you wanted a deeper colouring or a cooler finish, you could swap out the Carroburg Crimson for Army Painter's purple ink. Instead, I do normally use the purple paint ink. I find that quite a powerful colour. My concern here was going to overrule the pink too much, so I went with the lighter one with the Carroburg Crimson wash. And as I mentioned, it is simply covering the entire cloak now to bring it all together. And that's where we're getting nice and close. To the finish, you can see that it is tying it all together. It has got a nice shine at the moment, but once it dries, that shine does disappear, and you'll be able to see it all come together in the final stage. With washes, you want to make sure it doesn't sit in crevices too much. You can see sometimes that the paint is sitting very blotchy. It's a word, look it up. You just make sure you want to smooth it out. It might mean you just need to water your brush down or just pull it towards the edges. Make sure you pull the paint towards the edges, and if it's going to sit, make sure it sits in the right. So that's it. That's it. That's what the cloak will look like once it dries. Then we have... That's it. That is all it takes to do the cloak. 6 paints if you include the primer, but we are just using the Naggaroth Night as your core. Move it up to the Pink Horror. Then you go to the Emperor's Children. Fulgrim Pink is the final highlighting side of things. And then the Carroburg Crimson is used in this point to get all the wash together. Just make sure you thin your paints. That's the big trick. I hope you enjoyed this. I know people have been asking about it. I hope you got something out of it. It's not a complex way to do things. It just takes a bit of patience and a bit of imagination where you want to put some paint. You can do this with any colour as long as you've got your sort of 3 main colours that line up. If you found this helpful, hopefully you did, you can please hit that subscribe button. That'd be great. Hit a like and a comment would be great if you want to know more. If there's other bits of the model that you want to see more of and how it was done, just ask the question and I'll see what I can do. You can also catch me live on Twitch, and where I do the hobby nights generally on Tuesday, Thursday nights. You can follow me up. That is Ahriman. He is now completed, and that's what he looks like. So I want to say thank you for watching. Until next time, be good to each other and have a good night.